good morning. This is the home of pantomime. Good morning. Much better, much better. Now, my name is Richard Greaves, and there are 3 reasons why I'm standing up on stage today. The first is that I am chairman of this wonderful theatre, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all here. I hope that before you leave, you'll take one of these and have a good look through it. They're all over the back of the bar, and see the wonderful work that we do here. This is a professional theatre. We rely on bums on seats for our income rather than public money, and I do hope that this will be the first of many visits that you make here. The second reason that I'm standing here is that about a year ago, out of the blue, I was diagnosed with a rather aggressive form of prostate cancer. It came as a total shock. As a traditional old-fashioned Englishman, I just kept it to myself for a while, until I was persuaded to share the information with my friends, which was the best thing that I ever did. Their support, their encouragement, the sharing of stories and experiences was invaluable. The third reason I'm here is that one of those friends recommended, actually insisted, that I went to hear a talk by someone called the Cancer Journeyman. Now, that talk has changed my life. His story is remarkable. His talk was both educational and motivational, and as a result of everything I heard that day, I have completely changed my lifestyle, and I am far more optimistic about my future. You are in for a great day today, because you are going to hear much of that information and more. Educational, motivational, and remarkable. It's my great pleasure to introduce that person to you now. He is the man behind the ChippyWellFest. He is the Cancer Journeyman himself. He is the inspirational Nick Parker.
By the way, when you hug, you have to do left side of the hug, because that's hearts talking to each other. Heart. So I'm also a bit of a technician as well. I'm not by profession, but I've suddenly realised I'm the man who starts the clock and makes sure everyone sticks to time. So anyway, I'm truly humbled that so many of you are here, and this, of course, today is the day, and I never thought that today would be something that would arrive. But it has finally, and here we are, and I'm so humbled that today is the start, and it is the start of something brand new, and it's the start of something that I hope the rest of the world will say, and they'll look on and they'll say, wow guys, what you've achieved for yourselves is absolutely amazing. And I hope that you continue to travel the new journey that you've started just by being here. I also hope that you will join me on a little mission. And my mission that I hope that you're going to join with me is something that I'm really passionate about. And that is to create and to inspire and to support a community of people who are proven to be the healthiest community living in the UK. That's my mission, and that's what today is all about. So I'm so humbled that you've come to learn a little bit about your health, about our collective health, and of course the health of your loved ones. I'm going to start with some pretty grim stuff. The rest of the day I hope is going to be a lot more exciting. But this is why I think it's so important that today happens and why you're here. These are 2 cancer charts. I could have selected almost any cancer chart. But the first one here is... the first one on the left is a male cancer, prostate cancer, and the other one on the other side is a female cancer, female breast cancer. And they're just showing the incidence of cancer over time. And they just show an unstopping rise. And in 2015, the biggest independent research body, Cancer Research UK, said 1 in 2 people living at that time in 2015 would get cancer at some stage in their life. That's 1 in 2 people. That's 1 in 2 people in the audience. And that is up from 1 in 4 people in 1994. In 25 years, the cancer rate has doubled. When are we waiting for it to become 1 in 1? When are we waiting to change our actions where our current actions are not, clearly, are not working? And of course, it's not just cancer, it's diabetes as well. We read so much in the newspapers. The diabetes statistics are truly, truly, truly shocking. In the next 15 years, there's going to be a 30% increase in diabetes. In childhood diabetes, type 2 diabetes, in the last 3 years, there's been a 40% increase in childhood type 2 diabetes in the UK. The Stroke Association says in the next 15 years, until 2035, there's going to be a 59% increase in the numbers of strokes in the UK. And if we think it's all to do with being old and decrepit and we're all aging, what about this? Okay, the World Health Organization says that young people across Europe may die earlier than their grandparents. How is that meant to happen when we are living in a society that is more wealthy and more scientifically knowledgeable than we've ever been before? It makes no sense. For the first time in 100 years, since just after the First World War, when Spanish influenza unfortunately struck, for the first time in 100 years, the USA has reported 2 years of consecutive decline in longevity. And it's about to hit its 3rd year. That hasn't happened for 100 years. And yet, suddenly, last week's news, it hit the UK. For the first time, life expectancy in the UK has plateaued for the first time since records began. And don't think that public health care is necessarily coming to the rescue as much as we all love it. If I ask people what they think is the 3rd largest cause of death in the USA, the stats aren't available in the UK, but be sure that they are also the same in the UK. If I ask people what the 3rd largest cause is, after heart disease, cancer, people say, well, diabetes. And you'd be forgiven for saying that. But it's not. It's this word called iatrogenic, which means death through medication or treatment. The stuff that we're putting inside our bodies, stuff that comes out of pharmaceutical factories and our treatments, our bodies are just not designed for them. Unfortunately, at some stage, your body says no. It's the 3rd biggest cause of death. I've had a lot of chemotherapy, unfortunately. I can assure you it's something that your body doesn't enjoy. And again, about the public healthcare system, as much as we love it, 60 years ago we spent 10% of our budget on healthcare, public health budget on healthcare, public spending budget on healthcare, 10%, 11%, just over 10%. Now, 60 years later, we spend nearly 30%. Those 60 years ago, it was it's 14 billion pounds. Now it's 10 times that. It's 140 billion pounds we spend on public health care. There are only 73 richest nations in the world that have enough country income to support our healthcare budget. Only 73 richest countries in the world can do that. And that's just on their income being equivalent to just our healthcare budget. But it doesn't have to be this way. This is why you're so enlightened and you're coming today, and I'm so humbled. Because it doesn't have to be this way. Has my mic stopped?
Yes.
You can all still hear me. Okay, great. It doesn't have to be this way. In 2005, an American researcher called Dan Boetner was funded by National Geographic to research the 5 zones around the world that are called the blue zones that have the highest concentrations of people living to 100. Those 5 areas around the world are Loma Linda in California, where the Seventh-day Adventists live, a peninsula of Costa Rica, the islands of Sardinia in Italy, an island of Kare in Greece, and the prefecture of Okinawa in Japan. Now, what Dan Boetner discovered was not that they had fantastic public healthcare systems. They didn't have that. What they had was an intrinsic knowledge, a fundamental knowledge, right across the populations about how to lead healthy lifestyles. Healthy lifestyles that avoided all the processed foods that we eat today. So they concentrated on plant-based foods. They had a very strong sense of purpose. They had very strong spirituality. They had very strong social circles, and they put their bodies under constant motion. And so Dan Boetner set about publicising this and asking for places in the US to sign up to being blue zoned. And so these communities in America, we sign up to being blue zoned. And they would go through programs of purpose workshops and plant-based eating and spirituality and group exercises. Just last week, this email plopped into my inbox. This is an email about Fort Worth, which happens to be one of the blue zones that signed up. Fort Worth, in 4 years, increased its health and wellness index by 7% in 4 years, when in the same period of time, the whole of America's wellness index went down 1%. This stuff really works. It really, really works because it's human and it's real. It's not stuff that governments can do. It needs to be devoid of politics and economics. It needs to be for the people, powered by the people. When I spoke to a fantastic team called Mark Making, who are one of our sponsors, and I explained to them about the art and science of health, and I said it's very necessary that there's some bit that's arty. You kind of can't really measure the effectiveness of spirituality and faith. Maybe you can measure sort of things like exercise and stuff, but we need to be reflective that we're total systems, we are the whole. So, you know, and I was discussing this with Steve's team at Mark Making, and we were coming up with the branding for today. He said, oh, well, so you mean it's something a bit like this, being the kind of sciencey, clinical bit? I said, yeah, that sounds about right. He said, well, and then you add the sort of human randomness bit. I said, yeah, that sounds a bit about right. So now we've kind of got the art and the science. And then it came together with this wonderful logo that we've created. So today, and the logo encapsulates how together it's the art and the science. I was really determined that today had to happen. Today had to happen because I have been completely humbled by the support that has come out of nowhere from me personally on my journey in the last 3 years. It's been completely humbling. I've done more crying in the last 3 years than I've done in the previous 50. Mostly because I've been so touched by people. Today had to happen also because I chose not to believe the naysayers, the people who have standard conventional thoughts about the pathways of cancer and other chronic diseases. So I chose to say that I created a bad environment through poor lifestyle choice. I hope today I will prove to you that that does not need to be the case. I really felt that I needed, and I continue to need, to get out there and tell people that there is a different way so that people could make their choices for themselves. So today we've got on stage some local practitioners who are fantastic people, and they're local so that people can carry on conversations after the day. We've got some thrivers who've had some pretty grim health stories of themselves, and they will tell their stories. These people who are coming on stage, I'm so incredibly grateful for, because many of them have never been speaking in public before, and they've summoned a lot of courage to do it for the first time. A lot of them are going to be sharing their personal stories, deeply personal stories, for the first time. We're so honoured to have them. They are humans. If they make a few aberrations and slip-ups, I know that you'll forgive them. But I'm truly indebted to them. Today is not prescriptive. It absolutely is not prescriptive. I hope that there may be some differences of opinion, because one man's medicine is another man's poison. I urge you to go out and to do your research and to come to your own conclusions. I hope I've stripped today of all fear. I've asked people to say whatever they want to say, to be outspoken, controversial, to be devoid of ego or any financial concerns or any politics. I didn't want to single out any individual speakers. Nevertheless, there are two I'm going to single out. One I'm going to talk about a little bit more because he's following me on stage. But the other person I wanted to speak about very briefly was Claire Wilde, who is a GP and a qualified nutritionist. I mean, how cool is that? Is to choose to go and get educated in nutrition as a GP, and you know how hard GPs work. So she is coming on stage, and it's very important that we are embracing everything to do with healthcare. And it's a holistic message, and it's incredibly brave for Claire to be up here as a GP and to join in the conversation debate. I applaud her for her courage in doing it, and we're very, very honoured to have you, Claire. Now, in your bags, hopefully everyone's got a bag. If you haven't got one, please get one. But in your bags, you will have got some name stickers, and please just find the time to scribble your name and stick it on there so that you can all introduce it to each other in the breaks. You've got some workbooks, and the workbooks show the main timings, but they don't show the speaker order because we wanted to keep the speaker order a secret. We've got some feedback forms in there, and the feedback forms, please just tell us how you felt about today and put in your email addresses so you can keep in touch with the things that we've got planned. You will find a yellow wristband, health pledge wristband. Please wear that today, and it will help us get you in the front door at lunchtime quicker. And after today, it will help you remind yourself of the pledge that you've made to yourself about your health. You will also find in there three tear-off strips. It's in one sheet of paper, and there are 3 tear-off strips, and they're your health pledge slips in triplicate. Please help your future self by coming up with a health pledge. We'll help you through the day. But choose a health pledge, something simple that you feel that you can enact tomorrow. Write that in triplicate, as I say. Keep one for yourself as a reminder for yourself. Give one to a supportive pledge partner who's going to encourage you and support you as the days go by. And the third one, please pin onto the board in the bar so that we can see what your pledges are, and then with the collective vision of your pledges, view of your pledges, we can design the healthcare programs that you want, the lifestyle programs that you want going forward. I pinned mine on there. You can go and see what it is. I'm not going to say what it is now because I'll talk about it in my talk. But please go and pin your pledges to the board. We'd be delighted if any of you wanted to make a donation to today's costs and for funding future activity, completely voluntarily. If you wanted to, there's some donation boxes, but you could also do it online through the ChippyWellFest website after today if you wanted to.